Welcome to another episode of The Outdoor Analyst, where we are dispelling the groupthink mindset and bringing facts into reviews. And today, kind of the topic I wanted to go over is the brand Dark Timber Knives. And I wanted to just put the truth about what this brand is and what you're going to receive when you spend your hard-earned money on a Dark Timber knife. There are so many opinions spurring from extreme fandom to extreme hatred for this group. One of the most extremes because I'd say the group has created one of the biggest group thinks out there, which makes it really confusing when you try to actually get real information on what you're going to get when you get a Dark Timber knife. Now, I will say this. Peter Kohler is the designer for the brand. This is his mid-tech version. He's a custom knife maker. And for his mid-techs, he creates them in different generations and supposedly upgrades them as they go. Now, I will say this. If you're going to get a Dark Timber knife, you're going to get a great steel as far as heat treating goes. The original ones, most of what he did was in 3V. This is a Dark Timber Honey Badger, and it is a fantastic 3V steel. He has them heat treated well with a good company, does all the heat treats and cuts them out for him, and I've never had an issue with it. They are all going to be, they have quote-unquote hand sharpened, but they're actually sharpened with a wicked edge sharpener, so it's not really hand sharpened whatsoever in my mind. But they come with a great relief edge. So I actually enjoy that, especially on the Gen 1, Gen 2s of anything he's done. The relief edges are really good, like on the 1911s, the Honey Badgers, the OG Grizzlies. And I've owned probably 3 to 4 of each one of those and ended up just kind of keeping the one I really loved. So you're going to get a great steel when you get them. You're going to get really great handle ergonomics. Peter Kohler is one of the best designers, at least for the first few knives that he's designed. And the design for a gunfighter style grip is fantastic. It really is. It works good on the choil. It works really great here. And the Dark Timber 1911 Elite and also the Honey Badger is the exact same handle. No difference whatsoever in them. And I think they're really ergonomic. And they work really well for, I'd say, large to extra large hands. That's kind of what I feel like he creates those knives for. And they work very well for that sort of person. And I really enjoy it. Now, one thing I have noticed with these is that every handle scale you're going to get is always going to be raised in some way, shape, or form. Now, on the butts, some of them are supposed to be raised, but even on when they're not supposed to, they're not really flush on any of the handle scales. And out of owning, I don't know, 10 to 15, probably more than ones around 15 of these things, and selling, buying, trading, I've never found a good one as far as being perfect like a regular mid-tech $300 knife would do. They're always going to be rough. Now, contribute that to that they're removable? Sure, but they're still very roughly finished. So just know that. They're going to never be perfect on the Gen 1, Gen 2s. They're always going to be bubbly and bumpy. Now, on the Gen 3s and above, for the first 3 knives mentioned, they're actually created to be above the steel. So they're raised. And they say that's on purpose. It's really just a terrible addition to all knives. So know that. It's meant to be raised on any Gen 3 Honey Badger, 1911, OG Elite, or OG Grizzly, sorry. And I find that to be one of the worst design things I've ever seen in my life. One of the best designers, and just when it comes down to it, the knives are designed very well, and they are just kind of completed really shoddily in the end, for handles anyway. Your steel and your blades are going to be great. You're not going to have any issues. They're almost all just a double bevel saber grind. Some of them are convex, and they're convex with a wicked edge as well, which means they're not really a great convex, but they still cut really well. I've had 2 convex edges, one in the 1911 Elite and then one in the OG Grizzly, and they were both great. They cut really well. So I had no issues with them whatsoever as far as that. So no, when you buy a $300 knife or plus, you're going to get a good 3V steel, good heat treat. Your handles are going to be ergonomic, but the finishing on them is going to be rough. So expect that. You're not going to get anything near perfection. Now, on the sheaths, I actually really like the sheaths that come with them. They usually don't come with a dangler, they come with a nylon piece, but I added that to it. I added this as well, but it's just a regular Kydex sheath that fits well, has a good thumb ramp. I think Grizzly Outdoors does those for them. I think it's Matt Davis, I want to say, is the owner of that company, and he just does a good job. So you're going to get a good Kydex sheath with them. I think some of the OG Grizzlies originally came out with a leather sheath that wasn't so great, But hey, it was a mid-grade leather sheath, and you can't really go wrong with that. So when you spend $300, $350, $450, I don't know, in between there, depending on the knife, you're going to get a decent knife, and it's going to be what I'd call an okay mid-tech. It's not nearly as hand-finished as, say, a Bark River is. It really isn't. You can't. A lot of people say Bark Rivers all have mistakes in them, and they do, but at least they're usually flush when it comes down to the handle scales, and they are at least hand grinded, which is why they have a lot of mistakes to them. So, but that is what it is. Now, if you go to like other companies for the same price range, like Adventure Sworn, you're not going to have those grind issues or handle issues. They're going to be just perfect on the scales. Everything is going to line up fantastically. So know that. You're going to get more out of other brands for the same price range as far as hand finishing and perfection on fit and finish, like Fiddleback Forge and whatnot. They're going to be much higher grade than a dark timber knife. Now, do they have the designer's name behind them? No. So you're paying kind of for that cool factor, and that's okay. If you really like his knives, which I do, I think he has great designs, you're paying it a little extra for his name and not really the quality that goes into it. Just know that up front. Don't let anybody kind of fool you. This is a mid-tech knife that is, I'd say, probably on the lower end of finishing. It just really is. The handle scales are kind of unforgivable. It doesn't matter what knife you get. You shouldn't be paying $350 for a knife that is never going to be flush and then just kind of cause you more pain over the long run. But they still work well. I still enjoy them. I've kept this Honey Badger, and I like it. It works well for me. I'm not going to trade it in or sell it. Now, one thing about their warranty, I have had issues with their warranty before. They kind of say you really don't have a warranty. You sort of do. If they make like a defect in it, they'll attempt to make it better. My first Honey Badger I purchased had really acid etch issues all over it. And then the only way I found to actually get in contact with the company was a Facebook group. So I jumped into the Dark Timber Brotherhood, put up my concern there, got contacted by Zeke Manacho, and then later Peter Kohler himself, which was cool. I thought, hey, awesome customer service, get to talk to him. It was a little weird. As soon as I got done talking, they're like, yep, we made the mistake, our fault, no big deal, which I loved that they admitted that they had an issue. They said, send it back in, we'll take care of it. And then before you do that, make sure you tell everybody in the Facebook group, we did a great job, you know, put extra stuff out there for them. So I did. I figured it'd be okay. Send it back in, paid the shipping on my own. That was not offered. And they sent it back basically with the same issues. They didn't really fix anything. They had rust all over from the acid edge, tons of extra scratch marks on it that you could tell that they just took some steel wool to it, didn't fix the acid edge at all, which I was really frustrated with. This was a $350 knife, and came back trashed, a brand new knife that just was annoying. Luckily, there's a secondary market of people who are willing to pay 2 to 3 times the amount for them just because it has Peter Kohler's name on it. So, you know, I sold it for a huge profit, and that kind of made me happy. And then I realized you could just flip them, so I bought the rest of them basically on the idea of I'm going to play with them, sell them, you know, make $300 to $700 on each one, and move on to the next one. So that was pretty cool. So just know, there is a secondary market. It's coming down. His newer generations, the handle scales are getting worse. The knives are good if you can buy them for $300 or whatever they're actually listed at. I think that's fine. You're getting a mid-tech knife, cool name behind it, good designs. They're nothing extreme. I put them basically at the same level as a Bark River in reality, just because there's just the issues that Bark River has with the steel grinds is the same thing that Dark Timber Knives has with all of their handle scales. So take that into account. It's a wash to me. It's about the same. I don't really get excited over either one of them anymore, because you can spend the exact same sort of money and get a knife that has a better fit and finish for a mid-tech knife. So that's the truth of it. They're good knives. They're never worth paying over list for, unless you're just a super fanboy. They're not the best knives out there. They have really big design flaws, and they're kind of getting worse. So just know that as you're buying the new generation ones of them. And the steels are getting less quality. He's using AEBL, which is kind of a very inexpensive stainless steel. He's starting to use 80 CRV2 or something like that, which is a knife that should cost $50 that has that steel on it, because there are tons of them out there that have that. Only thing you're paying for is just the name of Peter Kohler on it. So, and this, like the Skinny Woodsman was a bushcrafter knife that I own 3 of that I just flipped because they were terrible for bushcrafting. They were very uncomfortable for the long run. If you're gonna do that, go ahead and buy like an LT Wright or LT Wright Genesis or Outback, Adventure Sworn. just a really good bushcraft knife. It just didn't add up. I mean, here's one right here. I forgot I had this out here. LT Wright Outback. Much better bushcrafting knife than the Skinny Woodsman in every way, shape, and form. Better steel, 3V, costs $200. Handle scales are perfect and actually ergonomic for bushcrafting or doing really anything else. Just kind of know that. Don't get caught up in the hype. When it comes to specific knives, there's always going to be a brand that does everything probably better than another one. Dark timber knives, I kind of put in the middle. They're really just a cool sort of survivor knife, and that's kind of what they bring to mind. And in the long runs, was it Jeremiah Johnson? They always say mixed with Mad Max was his design idea for like the Honey Badger, which is really cool. That's kind of what you get. You get a decent all-around knife. It doesn't do anything perfectly, but I do really enjoy it. And I've picked up a few other of his designs, just kind of saying. I like when he worked with Chris Tanner and LT Wright to make the JX3. This is awesome Skinner. You can definitely tell he had handle design in it. He's had handle design in the JX5 from Bark River, which is a great knife. I'm a big fan of the his Grizzly that he created with Bark River knives. I mean, his Gen 1 Grizzly. It was just a fantastic knife. Had it rehandled to fit a little better because the scales were awful, but now that they were done by a professional custom maker, they're much better. And they're beautiful. So just know what you're going to pay for. If you pay list for them, you're doing fine. If you pay above list, you're literally just wasting your money for a name when you can find a better maker out there for a mid-tech knife. So that's the skinny of it. Haha, no pun intended for his own knife. They're good knives. They're not amazing. Don't pay over for them. They're just okay. They're kind of on the lower end of a mid-tech as far as fit and finish goes. Designs, I'd say they're on the higher end. Are they worth $300? Yep. Anything more than that? Nah, not really. So, hey, there you go. That's the honest truth of what you'll get when you buy a dark timber knife. They're going to be decent. Don't fall into the hype. Don't worry about the Dark Timber Brotherhood. They are full of the biggest groupthink I've ever seen in the entire world, which is why the knives are possibly getting worse. I won't go on to the rant anymore. Just know, they're a decent knife. Anyway, there's the truth, and you're welcome.